Well, many thanks for joining us. This is Focus on Africa. I'm Wahiga Mwaura. The European Union has temporarily suspended funding for the World Food Programme in Somalia. This comes after a confidential UN investigation has found what it says is evidence of widespread theft and the alleged misuse of aid meant to prevent famine. The report, made public by DEVEX, a media outlet focused on international development, claimed that internally displaced people were being exploited by a group of landowners, clan leaders, police, and other local authorities who are allegedly systemically taxing aid from USAID, WFP, the UN, and other NGOs. The European Commission has stressed that it has not asked for the suspension of humanitarian operations altogether in Somalia. However, it is temporarily suspending funding until clarifications and reassurance are provided in order to safeguard the EU funds. But what the implications of the suspension will be are not yet clear. Now, just last year, the European Commission gave more than $7 million in aid to the WFP's Somalia Food Programme. Whilst this may sound like a lot, it's a fraction of the $1 billion in donations that the programme received. What is for sure, though, is that the situation in the East African country is dire. Some 3.8 million people are displaced due to war and famine, and as many as 43,000, half of them children younger than 5, died last year as a result of this drought. And as you may also remember, 3 months ago, the WFP and USAID suspended food to neighboring Ethiopia in response to the widespread diversion of donations there. Well, we want to make better sense of this, and I'm now joined by Mohamed Mualim, a senior policy advisor to Somalia's federal government's disaster management agency. Mohamed, thank you so much for joining us on Focus on Africa. Now, the EU has suspended funding for the WFP program, and we also hear of local authorities being a part of this. Has there been an investigation by the federal government of Somalia on this?
First of all, thank you very much for having me on the program. Of course, aid diversion undermines the effectiveness and the efficiencies of humanitarian operation while eroding the public trust in our era. Unfortunately, the latest aid diversion reports from the UN, of course, creates a situation of unease among the government and among the Somali people. The UN provided, of course, to the government of Somalia a summary of the key findings in July 2023, and the UN and federal government of Somalia have agreed to establish a joint task force to find out exactly what has happened and therefore act accordingly.
Mohamed, was the government aware of this? Sorry for interrupting you, but just that clarity. Was there any awareness, or is this the first time your agency is hearing of this?
We have came to realize the findings of the report in July 2023, but to date, the government has not received a specific data on the locations, amounts, and the agencies involved in the alleged aid diversion. Having said that, the federal government of Somalia, of course, is committed to working through the legal systems to investigate and prosecute those involved.
So what if these allegations are found to be true? What safeguards would you implement moving forward, and what would work? Because it seems that attempts to stop things like this clearly haven't been working in the past.
No, it's very, very important that, any humanitarian aid diversion, any theft of aid, is seriously not tolerated by the government. And you have to realize that over the years, we have had some incidents like this, but lately, the government has taken a very serious approach to this. And we are now really hoping that, first of all, establish the facts behind this. Of course, it only occurred, according to the report, in 3 areas. With limited data source as we have it. We don't have the entire picture yet. So once we get to the bottom of this, the government approach has always been and will be a zero tolerance on aid diversion in any form, shape or form.
Okay. Can you tell us then what the impact of the suspension of aid would be? How many people would it affect, for example?
Well, it will affect many people, possibly millions. Somalia has gone through in 2022-2023 the worst drought for 40 years, where we did not have 5 consecutive rainy seasons, and therefore livestock and the livelihood of more than 7 to 8 million people, half of the Somali population, have been impacted. And now we are going into a stage where we are hoping to recover from that devastating drought and the recent flash floods. And by the EU and other countries now stopping aid to Somalia will only deepen the situation and unfortunately will hurt the most vulnerable groups in our society.
Okay, well, thank you so much for speaking with us. Mohamed Mualim, who's a senior policy advisor to Somalia's federal government in the Disaster Management Agency. Let's switch gears now and take you to Libya, where the International Rescue Committee there has issued a warning about
Thank you very much,
waterborne diseases after